Miami hadn't cooled down in 47 days. I could feel the heat pressing against me like a living thing, thick and wet, suffocating even at 11 p.m. when the rest of the world should have been breathing easier. My 16-hour shift in St. Mercy's trauma unit had ended 23 minutes ago, but the exhaustion had burrowed so deep into my bones that I wasn't sure where it ended, and I began. Heavy, relentless, the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. I peeled my surgical scrubs away from my skin where they'd fused with dried sweat and something darker. Blood that wasn't mine, antiseptic that burned my nostrils, the faint metallic ghost of the teenager who'd flatlined twice on my table before I dragged him back. 17 years old. Gunshot wound to the chest. Gang initiation gone wrong. He'd live. I wasn't sure I would. My apartment waited 3 blocks away, a 4th-floor walk-up with a broken AC unit, a refrigerator containing exactly 1 protein bar and a bottle of flat Diet Coke, and a kitchen counter buried under student loan notices I'd stopped opening 2 months ago. $247,000. That's what my education cost. That's what saving lives was worth, a number so massive it had stopped feeling real, just another weight on a back already breaking. Keep walking, Kayla, 1 foot in front of the other. The shortcut stared at me from across the street. Cabrera Alley. Dark, narrow. The kind of place where shadows had shadows and the streetlights had been shot out so many times the city stopped replacing them. 3 murders there in the last month. Hospital admin had sent 4 emails warning staff to avoid it. I'd signed the acknowledgement form myself, initialed the little box that said I understood the risks, but the long way added 15 minutes. 15 minutes I didn't have. Not when my alarm would scream at 4:30 a.m. and I'd do this all over again. The blood, the chaos, the desperate fight to keep strangers alive while my own life fell apart, one unpaid bill at a time. Not when my feet had turned to concrete and my vision kept blurring at the edges, and the only thing keeping me upright was the promise of my lumpy mattress and 4 hours of unconsciousness. It's fine, you've done it before. Nothing ever happens. I turned into the alley. The darkness swallowed me whole. 30 steps in, I smelled it. Copper and iron, thick enough to taste on my tongue. Blood, fresh blood. The kind of smell that follows you home from the operating room and lives in your nightmares. My body knew before my brain caught up. My heart rate spiked. My hands twitched toward supplies I wasn't carrying. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around, to run, to pretend I hadn't noticed. But then I heard it. Crying. Not the cry of an adult, not a scream or a moan or a gurgle. Something smaller, something helpless. A baby. 2 babies. I saw him then, slumped against the graffiti-covered brick. Expensive suit shredded by bullets. Blood pooling beneath him in a spreading black mirror. His arms were wrapped around something against his chest, clutching it with the kind of desperate strength that only comes when you're holding on to the only thing that matters. 2 newborns. Tiny. Wrinkled. Their cries piercing the humid air like sirens. My medical training took over before my survival instincts could stop it. GSWs, multiple. Severe blood loss. Collapsed lung, judging by his breathing. The kind of injuries that kill in minutes without intervention. I should have run. I should have called 911 and kept walking. But then his eyes snapped open, dark, fierce, tracking me like a wounded predator deciding whether I was threat or salvation. And I saw the tattoos crawling up his neck, disappearing into his collar. Colombian cartel symbols, the same ones I'd seen on bodies in my ER, the same ones I'd spent 8 years running from. His cracked lips moved. Por favor, a whisper, broken. Mis hijos. Please, my sons. Those 2 words shattered every wall I'd built. I dropped to my knees in his blood and reached for his pulse, and in that moment, that single, irreversible moment. I crossed a line I could never uncross. Before we dive into this intense chapter, I need to know, where are you watching from, and what time is it right now? Drop your location in the comments below. If you're already hooked on Kayla and Nicolas's story, smash that like button and subscribe so you never miss what happens next. Trust me, you do not want to miss Chapter 6. Things are about to get wild. Now, let's get back to the chaos. His pulse fluttered beneath my fingertips. Thready, weak, the kind of heartbeat that whispered goodbye instead of hello. Stay with me. I wasn't sure if I was talking to him or myself. Hey, eyes on me, can you hear me? A grunt. His jaw tightened against the pain, but those dark eyes stayed locked on mine. Watching, assessing. Even dying, he was cataloging me. My face, my scrubs, the hospital badge still clipped to my chest. He's deciding if he can trust you. The babies squirmed against his chest, their cries weakening. That terrified me more than the blood. Newborn shouldn't go quiet. Quiet meant hypothermia, dehydration, shock. I need to examine them. I kept my voice steady, clinical. Can you let me? His arm tightened, protective, feral. I'm a surgeon. I held up my hands, showing him I meant no harm. Trauma surgeon, St. Mercy's Hospital. I can help, but you have to let me. Something shifted in his expression. Not trust, not yet, but calculation. The cold arithmetic of a man weighing terrible options. Slowly, agonizingly, his grip loosened. I reached for the first twin. A boy, wrapped in what looked like an expensive cashmere blanket, now soaked with his father's blood. I checked his fontanelle, slightly sunken. Pressed his tiny fingernail, capillary refill too slow. His skin was cool despite the Miami heat. 48 hours old, maybe less. Dehydrated. Needs feeding urgently. The second twin was worse. Lethargic. Barely. Crying anymore. How long? I demanded. How long since they've eaten? He struggled to focus. Dose, 12 hours, maybe more. No tinea. A wet cough, blood on his lips. Couldn't stop, they were hunting us. They. The word hung in the humid air like a threat. I didn't ask who, I didn't want to know. Every answer would drag me deeper into something I'd spent 8 years escaping. Focus on the medicine. That's all you are right now. A surgeon, nothing else. I ran my hands over his torso, cataloging damage. Entry, wound upper right chest. Collapsed lung, definitely. Through and through on the left shoulder. Possible internal bleeding. He should already be dead. I need to decompress your chest. I was already digging through my bag. I always carried supplies, gauze, tape, a pen light. Paranoid habit from residency. It's going to hurt. Do it. No hesitation, no fear, just those eyes, still tracking me, still calculating. I found my emergency kit. Pulled out the 14-gauge needle I kept for exactly this kind of nightmare. On 3, 1. I didn't wait for 3, never do. He sucked in a ragged breath as the needle punctured his chest wall, air hissing out in a rush. His whole body shuddered, but he didn't scream, didn't even flinch. Who the hell are you? Color crept back into his face. His breathing steadied, still labored, but no longer drowning. Gracias. Barely a whisper. Don't thank me yet. I was already moving, checking the babies again, running through impossible logistics in my head. You need a hospital, real surgery, antibiotics, blood transfusion. No. His hand shot out, gripping my wrist with surprising strength. No hospitals. They have people everywhere. Isabella. His voice cracked. They killed her in the hospital while the babies. He couldn't finish. He didn't have to. I understood then. This wasn't random violence. This was a war. And these two tiny, helpless infants were the targets. Walk away, Kayla. Call an ambulance. Let someone else carry this. But I looked at those babies, fragile, innocent, clinging to life because their father had shielded them with his own dying body, and I saw something that broke me open. I saw myself. 4 years old, Bogota, my mother's blood on my hands while sirens screamed in the distance. You can't save everyone. No, but I could save them. I lived 3 blocks from here. The words fell out before I could stop them. Can you walk? His laugh was wet, painful. No say, don't know. Then you're going to lean on me, and we're going to find out. 15 minutes later, I'd flagged down an Uber driver, paid him triple to not ask questions, and half-carried a cartel boss up 4 flights of stairs while his newborn twins slept in a produce box I'd grabbed from a dumpster. My apartment door clicked shut behind us, and standing there, a bleeding criminal on my couch, 2 orphaned infants in my arms, my whole life balanced on the edge of a knife, I realized the truth. I hadn't just crossed a line. I'd burned the entire map. My kitchen table had seen a lot of things. Ramen dinners for one, student loan paperwork spread like a paper cemetery, the occasional sob session at 3 a.m. when the loneliness got too heavy. Never a dying man. This is insane, I was talking to myself, hands moving on autopilot, boiling water, sterilizing instruments, dumping half a bottle of cheap vodka over everything, because that's what you do when you're performing surgery in a studio apartment with no anesthesia and no backup. This is absolutely insane. Nicholas watched me from the couch, his breathing shallow but steady. The needle decompression had bought him time. Not much. You should go. His voice scraped like gravel. Demasiado peligroso. Too dangerous for you. Shut up. I'm serious, and I'm serious when I say shut up. I grabbed my laundry basket, dumped out 3 days of dirty scrubs, and lined it with the cleanest towels I owned. The twins went in, still wrapped in that bloodied cashmere. You can die if you want, but those babies need their father, and I didn't drag your ass up 4 flights of stairs to watch you bleed out on my second-hand couch. He stared at me. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise maybe, or the beginning of respect. I didn't care which. Table, now, can you move? He could, barely. I helped him onto the kitchen table, his weight heavy against me, the heat of his fever seeping through his ruined shirt. Up close, I could see the tattoos more clearly. Names in elegant script: Isabella, Joaquin, Juan. A Virgin Mary with weeping eyes. Symbols I recognized from bodies in my ER, from news reports, from nightmares I'd tried to bury. Don't think about it. He's just tissue and blood. Just another patient. I cut away his shirt. The damage was worse than I'd hoped, better than I'd feared. 2 bullets still lodged. One had nicked his lung, already addressed. The other sat dangerously close to his subclavian artery. This is going to hurt, I warned him. Everything hurts. A ghost of a smile. Do what you have to do, doctora. I worked. No anesthesia meant he felt everything, every probe, every extraction, every suture piercing flesh. He didn't scream, just gripped the edge of my table until his knuckles went white, jaw clenched so tight I worried he'd crack his teeth. Halfway through, he spoke. Why? Barely a whisper. ¿Por qué me ayudas? Why are you helping me? Because I took an oath. I didn't look up from my work, couldn't afford to, and because those babies didn't choose any of this. Silence. Then, you're different. I'm a surgeon, this is what I do. No. His eyes found mine, held them. Eres diferente. I've known many doctors. None of them would have stopped in that alley. I didn't answer, couldn't answer, because he was right, and I didn't understand it myself. The first bullet came out clean. The second fought me, lodged against bone, slippery with blood. My fingers ached. Sweat dripped down my temple. In the laundry basket, one of the twins started crying again, thin, reedy, desperate. "Están bien?" Nicolas tried to lift his head. "The babies, are they cold? They're fine. Stay still. Please, I need to know. They're fine." I softened my voice, marginally. "I'll check them as soon as I finish not letting you die. Deal?" He exhaled, nodded. Something shifted between us in that moment. Some wall crumbling that I couldn't afford to acknowledge. I focused on his hands instead, trying to distract myself. That's when I noticed it. The wedding ring. Platinum. Simple. Still bright despite the blood caking his fingers. Isabella. The name tattooed over his heart. The name he'd choked on in the alley. I finished the last suture in silence. 45 minutes later, he was sleeping, finally, fitfully, on my couch. Fever still burning, but stable, alive. I sat on the floor beside the laundry basket, a twin in each arm, feeding them formula I'd sprinted to the corner bodega to buy. Joaquin, the fussier one, sucked greedily. Juan watched me with dark eyes too wise for a 2-day-old. Nicholas's phone buzzed on the coffee table. Again. He didn't stir. I stared at the screen, unknown number. Spanish text I couldn't fully read. "¿Dónde estás? Responde, Diego está buscando." Where are you? Answer. Diego is searching. The name meant nothing to me, but the cold dread pooling in my stomach said it should. I looked at Nicolas, this stranger, this criminal, this father who'd shielded his sons with his dying body. His gun glinted beneath his jacket. His chest rose and fell with labored breath, and I realized, with terrible clarity, that I was holding his entire world in my arms. 2 lives, fragile, innocent. Already I loved them. Already I was damned. I didn't sleep, couldn't. Every 20 minutes I checked Nicholas's pulse, his temperature, the wound sites for signs of infection. Between checks, I fed the twins, changed them with dish towels because I didn't have diapers. Walked circles around my tiny apartment with Joaquin screaming against my shoulder while Juan slept with the terrifying stillness of an exhausted newborn. Dawn crept through my window, gray and humid, promising another punishing Miami day. My phone alarm shattered the silence. 4:30 a.m. Shift starts in 90 minutes. I stared at the screen like it was written in a foreign language. Work, the hospital, my actual life, waiting for me to return to it like nothing had happened. Like there wasn't a cartel boss bleeding through bandages on my couch. Like I hadn't performed kitchen table surgery 6 hours ago. Like I wasn't currently burping a baby whose mother had been murdered in a hospital bed. How is this my life? "You're thinking too loud." I spun. Nicholas was awake, feverish, pale but alert, already pushing himself upright, eyes scanning the room until they landed on the laundry basket. "Don't move." I crossed to him, pressing him. "Back down. You'll tear the sutures." He ignored me. "Mis hijos, where?" "Right there, sleeping, finally." I gestured to the basket. "They're fine, dehydrated, but I've been feeding them every 2 hours. They'll recover." His whole body sagged with relief. In the gray morning light, I noticed things I'd missed in the chaos. The Patek Philippe watch on his wrist, worth more than my annual salary. The tailored cut of his ruined suit. The manicured hands, now crusted with blood. This wasn't some street-level thug. This was someone powerful, someone important, someone whose enemies had resources I couldn't imagine. "You need to go to work." His voice startled me. I'd been staring. What? Work. He met my eyes, steady, commanding. Act you're normal. Don't raise suspicions. If you disappear, people will ask questions. Questions lead to searches. Searches lead here. He was right. I hated that he was right. I can't leave you alone. You can barely sit up. I'll manage. You don't know how to care for newborns. Something flickered across his face. Shame? Fear? Then teach me, quickly. The next 30 minutes were surreal. Me, demonstrating how to hold a newborn's head, how to test formula temperature on your wrist, how to burp without jostling too hard. Him, watching with intense focus, taking mental notes like I was lecturing on advanced cardiac surgery instead of basic infant care. Support the neck, always. They can't hold their heads up yet. I know. Defensive. I held them in the alley. You held them while dying. Different circumstances. He almost smiled. When I placed Joaquin in his arms, something transformed. The hard lines of his face softened. The calculating coldness melted away. He looked down at his son with such naked tenderness that I had to turn away. Too intimate, too human. I couldn't afford to see him as human. They need supplies, I said, busying myself with my bag. Formula, diapers, clothes, I'll stop at the store before my shift. Here. I turned. He'd produced a money clip from somewhere, thick with bills, hundreds, more cash than I'd seen in one place in years. Take it. I don't want your money. It's not for you, it's for them. He held my gaze. Pride is a luxury, Doctora. One you can't afford right now. I wanted to argue, wanted to throw it back in his face. Instead, I peeled off enough for supplies and shoved the rest toward him. For the babies, nothing else. He nodded, didn't push. I was almost out the door when his phone rang, different ringtone, urgent, shrill. Nicolas answered, and the man I'd been treating vanished. In his place, someone cold, lethal. His voice dropped to a razor's edge, rapid Spanish I could barely follow. Diego, sí, lo sé. Encuentra a los traidores. No me importa cómo. Diego, traitors. I don't care how. He hung up, looked at me with eyes that had gone flat, dead. Isabella was killed in the hospital, each word precise, controlled. They have people inside, doctors, nurses, staff. You need to be careful. My blood turned to ice. You'll be watched, he continued. My man, Mateo, you won't see him, but he'll be there. He'll keep you safe. I don't want to be watched. You're already part of this. His voice softened, just barely. Lo siento, Kayla, I'm sorry, but there's no going back now. I left without responding. The walk to the hospital took 15 minutes. Every stranger's glance felt like a threat. Every shadow hid enemies. My phone buzzed. Voicemail, unknown number. I played it, static, heavy breathing. Then, Spanish, distorted, impossible to understand fully. But the tone I understood perfectly. We're coming. I deleted it and walked faster. The hospital felt different. Same fluorescent lights. Same antiseptic smell. Same chaos of gurneys and monitors and desperate families crowding the waiting room. But now I saw threats everywhere. The janitor mopping near the nurse's station, was he watching me? The visitor in the leather jacket, lingering too long by the vending machines. Why did his eyes keep drifting my way? The new patient in Bay 4, brought in with a gunshot wound. I stopped breathing. Tattoos. Crawling up his neck. Colombian. Cartel. Same symbols I'd seen on Nicolas. Hoffman! Dr. Reeves's voice snapped me back. He was staring at me with concern. Chart forgotten in his hands. You okay? You look like hell. Fine. The word came out strangled. Just tired. Tired doesn't cover it. When's the last time you slept? I couldn't remember, couldn't think. The walls were closing in, the fluorescent buzz growing louder, the tattooed patient's eyes finding mine across the room. I need a minute. I didn't wait for permission. The supply closet was dark, quiet. I pressed my back against shelves of gauze and saline, sliding down until I hit the floor. Breathe, just breathe. But the memories came anyway. Bogota. 8 years ago. Daniel's body in my arms, his blood soaking through my dress. So much blood, too much, pooling beneath us on the cobblestones. The gunman walking away like they hadn't just ended everything. He'd witnessed something he shouldn't have. Wrong place, wrong time, dead for nothing. I'd held him until the sirens came, until someone pried me away, until I realized that staying meant dying too. 3 days later, I was on a plane. New name, new country, new life built from ashes and desperation. Kayla Rodriguez became Kayla Hoffman, and I swore I would never go back to that world. My hands were shaking. I'd broken my own promise, willingly, stupidly, for a stranger and his sons. Get up, finish your shift, deal with this later. I forced myself to stand, splashed water on my face, returned to the chaos, and that's when I spotted him. Large man, waiting room, arms crossed, eyes tracking me with professional precision. Mateo. He didn't acknowledge me, didn't need to. Nicolas had kept his word. Strangely, that made me feel safer. 12 hours later, I climbed my 4 flights of stairs on legs made of lead. My key turned in the lock. I pushed open the door and froze. My apartment had transformed. Professional medical equipment lined the walls. IV stands, monitors, supplies I couldn't afford in 10 lifetimes. My empty fridge hummed with actual food. A proper bassinet stood by the window, both the twins sleeping peacefully inside. And Nicolas was standing, showered, dressed in fresh clothes that had materialized from nowhere. Still pale, still moving carefully, but upright, alert, looking like something carved from marble and shadow. Dangerous. Beautiful. I hated noticing. What the hell is this? Protection. He said it simply, like the answer was obvious. For my sons and for you. You can't just, I gestured wildly at my transformed apartment. Take over my life, move in your people, your equipment, your... Kayla. Don't. I stepped closer, anger rising. Tell me who you are. Really, what am I involved in? Silence stretched between us. Then he spoke. My name is Nicolas Ramirez. I run the Ramirez Cartel's operations in Miami and Medellin. No apology, no shame. My enemies want my sons dead to end my bloodline. Diego, my cousin, my lieutenant, betrayed me, murdered my wife, tried to murder me, and now he's hunting anyone connected to my survival. The words hit like bullets. Cartel, operations, bloodline. I'd saved a cartel boss. I'd brought a cartel war into my home. I watched the cartels kill someone I loved. My voice cracked. I rebuilt my entire life to escape that world, and you brought it right back to me. His expression shifted, surprise. Then something deeper. Kayla Rodriguez. He said my real name like a secret. Bogota. 8 years ago. A fiancé named Daniel. You've fled under a false identity, worked 3 jobs to survive, put yourself through medical school. Ice flooded my veins. You investigated me. I investigate everyone who saves my life. Then you know why I should hate you. Yes. He stepped closer, gentle, careful. Entonces entiendes. You understand why I must protect my sons at any cost. I wanted to scream, to throw him out, to pretend none of this had happened. Instead, I asked, why didn't I let you die in that alley? His eyes searched mine. I've been wondering the same thing. Because I looked at Juan. My voice broke. And I saw myself, orphaned by violence before I was old enough to understand. His phone rang. He answered, listened. His face went cold. "Diego wants to meet," he said after hanging up. "It's a trap, but I need to know how deep the betrayal goes." "You'll die." "Maybe." He looked at the bassinet, at his sons, at me. "If I don't return, Mateo will take you somewhere safe." He was walking toward death. For them, for us. And I realized, with terrifying clarity, I couldn't let him go alone. Nicola dressed for war like other men dressed for weddings. Methodical, deliberate, every movement precise. I watched from the kitchen doorway, Joaquin sleeping against my shoulder as he checked his gun, strapped a knife to his ankle, adjusted the wire Mateo was taping to his chest, so small I could barely see it, but apparently powerful enough to transmit everything. "You don't have to do this." My voice sounded small, pathetic. He didn't look up. "Yes, I do. Diego wants you dead. You said it yourself. It's a trap." "I know." He finally met my eyes. Calm, accepting. "But I need his confession. For the council, for legitimacy. If I just kill him without proof, the cartel splits, war erupts, my sons inherit chaos." Always thinking 3 moves ahead. Even walking toward his own execution. Mateo grunted something in Spanish. Nicolas nodded, replied too quickly for me to follow. Then he crossed to the bassinet, lifted Juan with startling gentleness. The picture broke me. This man, armed and wired for violence, cradling his newborn son like he was made of glass. "Si no regreso," he whispered against Juan's forehead. "Don't." I cut him off, shifting closer. "Don't you dare! You're coming back. Those boys need their father." He looked at me over Juan's head. Something raw flickered in his expression. "Kayla." Mateo cleared his throat, pointed at his watch. Right, no time for whatever confession was building between us. Nicolas kissed both twins, whispered promises I couldn't hear, then handed Juan back to me, his fingers brushing mine, lingering just a second too long. "Stay away from the windows. Mateo has 2 men downstairs. If anything happens, anything, you go out the fire escape. Black SUV waiting on the south side, keys under the mat. Nicolas, promise me." I couldn't speak, could only nod. He left without looking back. The door clicked shut, and I was alone with Mateo, 2 sleeping infants, and a laptop streaming live feed from cameras I hadn't known existed. The warehouse looked like every criminal cliché. Abandoned, rusting, shadows pooling between shipping containers like spilled ink. I watched Nicolas walk in, flanked by 3 men, confident, controlled, like he wasn't walking into hell. "Can you hear everything?" I asked Mateo. He tapped his earpiece, nodded. Pushed the laptop toward me so I could see the video feed clearly. Diego appeared from behind a container. Younger than Nicolas. Handsome in that careless way some men are. All charm and white teeth and expensive cologne, probably. Even through the grainy video, I could see the family resemblance, cousins, blood. "Primo," Diego called out, arms spread wide, mocking. "Pensé que estarías muerto." "Cosa, I thought you'd be dead." Nicolas stopped 10 feet away. "Takes more than rats to kill a Ramirez." Diego laughed. Actually laughed. "Rats? Is that what we're calling loyalty now? Vision? We're calling it treason." The word hung in the air like a blade. Diego's smile didn't waver. "You've gone soft, Nicolas. Building hospitals, funding schools, playing philanthropist while the real business dies." He circled closer. "Isabella made you weak. Those babies make you weak." I stopped breathing. "Careful." Nicolas's voice dropped to something lethal. "Very careful what you say about my wife. Your dead wife." Diego's cruelty was casual, practiced. I did you a favor, really. Now you can focus on what matters: power, territory, expansion, once we clean up your little loose ends. Mateo stiffened beside me. On screen, Nicolas went absolutely still. You? The word came out strangled. You killed Isabella. Of course I did. Diego grinned. Right there in her hospital bed. Pillow over her face while she was too drugged to fight. The twins were in the nursery. Would have been easy to make them disappear too. Tragic accident. Everyone would have mourned. And I'd have taken over while you grieved. My hand flew to my mouth. This wasn't just betrayal. This was monstrosity. But you survived that alley, Diego shrugged. Sloppy work from my men won't happen twice. Why? Nicholas's voice shook, not with fear, with rage barely leashed. We built this together. Your family. Family? Diego spat the word. You were supposed to expand the empire, not dismantle it. Turning operations legitimate, cooperating with the DEA. We weren't cooperating. Don't lie. Diego's composure cracked. I've seen the documents, the meetings. You were going to turn witness, destroy everything our fathers built. To protect my sons from exactly this. Your sons. Diego's laugh was ugly. You mean the bastards currently hiding with some puta surgeon you picked up in an alley? Ice flooded my veins. They knew about me. Of course they knew. Mateo's radio crackled. Spanish, urgent. His face went hard. Vienen, he muttered. They're coming. What? He was already moving, pulling a gun from somewhere, barking orders into his radio. Diego has men outside, now, coming for you and the babies. The world tilted. On screen, Nicholas moved, fast, brutal, no warning. His first shot took out Diego's nearest guard. The second and third dropped two more before they could react. His own men emerged from hiding. They'd been positioned all along, waiting. Diego stumbled backward, hand reaching for his gun. Too slow, too stupid. Finally realizing he'd miscalculated everything. Nicholas closed the distance, grabbed Diego by the throat, slammed him against a container hard enough to dent metal. You killed my wife. Each word punctuated by violence. Tried to kill my sons. Wait, Nicholas, please. Smile for the camera, Primo. And then I understood. Nicholas wasn't just recording for the council. He was streaming, live, to every cartel member, every lieutenant, every soldier, showing them what happened to traitors. Diego's confession, his arrogance, his crimes, all of it captured, undeniable. Any last words? Nicholas asked, almost gentle. Diego spat blood. You'll never be safe. My men will... The gunshot cut him off. Not quick, not merciful. Nicholas shot him in the stomach, let him fall, watched him writhe. That's for Isabella. Another shot, kneecap. That's for my sons. I should have been horrified. Instead, I felt savage satisfaction. Glass shattered behind me. I spun, clutching both twins, as Mateo shoved me toward the bathroom. Go, now! Gunfire erupted. Deafening. The twins started screaming. I ran. The bathroom was tiny, barely enough room for the tub. I climbed in, crouched low, pressed the babies against my chest, covered their ears with my hands even though it was useless against the noise. Please let Mateo be okay. Please let Nicholas come back. The twins' cries were the only thing keeping me sane. As long as they were crying, they were alive. More gunfire, shouting. Something heavy crashed in the living room. Then, silence. Worse than the noise. Sirens in the distance. Getting closer. Doctora, Mateo's voice. We go now. I didn't think, just moved. He was bleeding. A shoulder wound, not critical, but already hauling me toward the fire escape. One of his men grabbed my bag, another provided cover. We clattered down metal stairs, my legs shaking, the twins screaming against the chaos. The SUV was waiting. Mateo shoved me inside, climbed in after, barked directions at the driver. We peeled out as police cars rounded the corner. The safe house was 2 hours away. Ocean view, fortified walls, armed guards everywhere. Beautiful prison. I sat on an unfamiliar couch in an unfamiliar room, finally getting the twins settled. Fed, changed, checked for injuries they didn't have. Mateo let me clean his wound, grunted through the stitches, refused pain medication. El Jefe will come, he said, always does. I wanted to believe him. Midnight came. 1 a.m., 2. I'd just gotten both twins to sleep when I heard it. Car doors, voices, movement. I didn't think, I ran. Nicolas stood in the entryway, still in bloody clothes, exhausted, favoring his injured side. Alive. He saw me and stopped, braced himself, like he expected me to run away. I crossed the room, checked him for new injuries with hands that shook. Found none. You killed him. Not an accusation, a statement. Yes. 4 men. They were shooting at you. I watched you execute your cousin. His jaw tightened. I know. I understand if you... I kissed him. Hard, desperate, tasting blood and smoke and survival. He froze for a heartbeat. Then his hands found my waist, pulled me closer, kissed me back like I was oxygen and he'd been drowning. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, he stared at me like I'd performed another miracle. I just killed... You protected your sons. I held his face between my hands. You protected me. I understand the difference between murder and defense. Something in him cracked. His forehead dropped to mine. I can't do this alone, he whispered. I thought I could, but I can't. Then don't. We stood there, holding each other while guards patrolled outside, and his sons slept in the next room. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that everything had changed. Forever. 3 a.m. Both twins screaming in stereo. Welcome to parenthood. I've got Joaquin, Nicolas muttered, already moving. We developed a rhythm over the past 2 weeks, wordless choreography born from exhaustion and necessity. I scooped up Juan, checking his diaper, his temperature, running through the mental checklist that had become second nature. Fed 2 hours ago, not wet, not feverish, just angry at the universe. Hey, pequeño, I whispered, bouncing him gently. I know, life's terrible. You didn't ask for any of this. He wailed louder. Across the room, Joaquin had settled against Nicolas's chest. Of course he had. Joaquin was easy, loud, demanding, but easily soothed once you figured out what he wanted. Juan was different. Complicated. Like he carried the weight of everything that had happened in his short life. Swap? Nicolas offered. No, he needs to learn I'm not giving up on him. Something flickered in Nicolas's expression. Understanding, maybe. He knew about not giving up. 10 minutes later, Juan was still screaming. 15 minutes, 20. I'd tried everything. Formula, burping, different positions. The pediatrician had checked him yesterday, perfectly healthy. Some babies just cried more. But watching Nicolas hold Joaquin so easily while I failed with Juan cracked something open inside me. I don't know what I'm doing, I admitted, voice breaking. I'm a surgeon. I can reconstruct a severed artery, but I can't figure out what a newborn needs. Nicolas stood, crossed to me, gently took Juan from my arms. The baby quieted almost immediately. Of course. It's not you, Nicolas said softly, seeing my face. Sometimes they just need someone different. It doesn't mean you failed. But it felt like failure. He sat beside me on the couch, Juan finally settling, Joaquin asleep in the bassinet. The pre-dawn quiet wrapped around us. I don't know how to do this either, he confessed. Be a father. My father was brutal, cruel. He taught me to survive, to kill, to take power, never to love. His voice dropped. I'm terrified I'll become him. I looked at this man, cartel boss, killer, someone whose enemies had tried to murder his newborn sons, holding Juan with such impossible tenderness. You're already different, I said. You're here, you're trying, you put them first. They need more than trying. His eyes found mine. They need a mother, a real mother, not just nannies and hired help. My heart stopped. Kayla. He shifted, and suddenly I realized this wasn't casual conversation. This was something else. Cásate conmigo, marry me. I couldn't breathe. Not because I'm forcing you, he continued quickly. Not because you owe me, but because when I watch you with my sons, I see something I never thought I'd have again. Family. Real family. He paused. And because I think I know, I'm falling in love with you. The words hung between us like a confession. You barely know me, I whispered. I know you saved my life when you should have run. I know you chose my sons over your safety. I know you didn't flinch when you saw what I really am. His hand found mine. I know that when I thought I'd die in that warehouse, my last thought was of you. Tears burned my eyes. I fled violence, I said. Spent 8 years building a life away from it. And somehow I found my way back. I know. But with you, my voice cracked. With you it feels different, like coming home. He pulled me closer, careful of Juan sleeping between us. I can't promise safety, he said. Can't promise easy, but I promise partnership. You keep working if you want. Make your own choices. I'll never cage you. I thought about the alley, the impossible choice, everything that had led here. Yes, his eyes widened. Yes? Yes, I'll marry you. Marry you and your sons in this impossible, dangerous life. I kissed him softly. Because you're right. This is family, and family is worth everything. 3 months later, I walked into my ER and found a teenage boy bleeding out in Bay 4. Gang shooting. 15 years old. Tattoos marking him as part of Diego's old network. I should have walked away, let another surgeon handle it. Instead, I saved his life. Because that's what I do. Afterward, I found Nicolas in his office at home, going through security reports. We need to talk, I said. He looked up, immediately alert. What happened? Diego's nephew, Miguel, 15, nearly died tonight from gang violence. I crossed my arms. He's got nobody. Diego's network is destroyed. He's alone. Nicolas's expression went cold. No? Yes. Kayla, that's too dangerous. You taught me family is worth dying for. I stepped closer. This boy lost everything because of your war. So now he's ours. You can't just watch me. We stared at each other. Battle of wills. Finally, Nicolas exhaled. You're sure? Completely. He might hate us. Probably will. Then we'll deal with it, together. Something in his face softened. You're insane. I married you, didn't I? He almost smiled. 6 months after that, I woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. Our terrace in Coral Gables overlooked the ocean. Beautiful. Fortified. Home. Armed guards walked the perimeter, but I barely noticed them anymore. This was our normal. In the kitchen, Miguel was setting the table. 17 now, cleaned up, in school, transformed from the angry kid I'd pulled from death's door. He caught me watching and grinned. Morning, Kayla. Twins are already eating. I found them in their high chairs, 10 months old now, covered in mashed banana, laughing at absolutely nothing. Nicolas stood behind them, phone pressed to his ear. conducting business in rapid Spanish while simultaneously wiping Joaquin's face. Multitasking at its finest. He finished his call, caught my eye, smiled that private smile reserved just for me. "Coffee? Please." We sat together on the terrace, Miguel bringing the twins outside, all of us settling into the morning routine we'd built from chaos and blood. "I have surgery at 10, I said. "Should be home by 6. Mateo will drive you." "I know. Miguel has his calculus exam today." "I know. I helped him study." Nicola's hand found mine under the table. Simple, familiar. This impossible family we'd created. I thought about that night in the alley. How I could have walked away. Should have walked away. How one choice had led here, to this terrace, this man, these children, this life. Dangerous, beautiful. Mine. "What are you thinking?" Nicolas asked softly. I watched Miguel make Joaquin laugh. Watched Juan study his brother with those serious eyes. That sometimes the most dangerous choice is the one that saves you. Nicolas lifted my hand, kissed my knuckles. No regrets. In the distance, sirens wailed. Miami's constant soundtrack. But here, surrounded by guards and guns and the beautiful wreckage of everything we'd survived? "None," I said. "Not a single one." And I meant it.